Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I have Lesley Mitchell-Clarke here today, and welcome to High Road to Humanity, Lesley.
Oh, thank you so much, Nancy. It's such a pleasure to be here, and especially on St. Patrick's Day.
Ah, then look at the Irish.
Day. It's a special day for the little people, and I'm little. I'm about 5'1". I used to be taller.
Gosh, that's
I don't know
great.
what's going on, but
Well, I'm really glad you're here today.
thank you.
Yes, you guys sit back and relax. And let me kind of give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about extraterrestrials. And I want you guys to know that Lesley Mitchell-Clarke is a hypnotherapist. Okay. She's from Toronto. She's certified clinical hypnotherapist, by the way. She specializes in a number of modalities, including working with individuals who feel they have had experiences with extraterrestrial beings. Most of this fascinating work as well. She's a metaphysical therapist. She's a past life and inner life regressionist. All of this takes place at her Toronto hypnosis clinic. Check this out. Lightwork Hypnosis. I like that. That's really cool.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
really
you.
neat. So prior to this, Lesley had a busy career as an actor, a dancer. This is really cool. A vocalist. And for the past 20 years, she's also been a top jazz and arts media consultant with an array of Grammy and Juno winning clients, as well as major jazz festival and record labels. Now, Lesley is currently the director of LMC Media. So with offices both in Toronto and Lesley's hometown of New York City. She is also a busy arts writer, contributing regularly to a variety of publications. So you're just, wow. What a background you have, lady.
I'm so tired. I feel like that, Vedic poster of the god with all the many arms stretching out. I got like a frying pan here and a iPad there. So, but anyway.
Well, my first question to you, of course, is, how obviously, so you're a hypnotherapist. How did you start meeting with people who had been abducted? And I guess, or did they just come to you and you're like, oh my God, is this guy nuts or has he really been abducted? Like, how did you know?
It's, I would have to say it's a little bit of both in a sense.
Okay.
Now I was, I'm an old broad,
Come on.
I was having, I guess you would call it a midlife crisis of some sort, menopausal crisis. I don't know, a crisis.
Okay.
I was sick to death of PR, hated it, didn't want to do it anymore. And I just didn't know what I was doing. I was drawn to metaphysics, but I thought, well, maybe I can be a Reiki person, but that's still kind of a little too, I thought it would be inconsistent income, so a little bit.
Okay. All right.
So my husband, bless his heart, he bought me a past life regression with a hypnotherapist in Toronto. And I went and had that experience. And what I took away from that was not only, the amazement of the experience itself, but I knew in every cell of my body, I knew that I could do that.
Oh my gosh.
I think myself that I have worked in hypnotherapy in many lifetimes. It's ancient in the extreme. I mean, hypnosis is over 6,000 years old by our recorded history.
Okay.
And if you accept the idea of antediluvian sophisticated civilizations, it's, I'm sure, way older than that. So at any rate, I got a late start, but I immediately went to study with the great, Georgina Cannon at the time, the Ontario Hypnosis Center and School.
Okay.
And it wasn't long before, I had finished my metaphysical credentials and I was actually working at Georgina's clinic. So what started happening there is about once a month, someone would call in, a legitimate sounding person. I'm a school teacher, whatever, and I have missing time, and I think I've had these encounters. Now, no one else at the clinic wanted to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And
Why?
that surprises me, because
Yeah, that's what, me too.
here
Why
we
is
are
that, you
doing
think?
past life regressions and interlife regressions, and in some people's past life regressions and interlife regressions, we have ETs walking around. So I mean, I couldn't get my head around it, but I said,
Yeah.
you know what? Send these people to me,
Oh
right
my
to me.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
And that really is how it started. And I think the fact that Shirley MacLaine was very involved, close friend of Georgina Cannon's at the time, and very involved, I think she probably helped get the word out about the work that I was doing. I wouldn't be at all surprised. So it wasn't long after that before I began working with MUFON, and I became part of Kathleen Martin's Experiencer Research Project.
Okay.
So in that case, anyone that was open to regression that they felt would have, a chance of having some kind of recall, they would forward to me. So
Okay.
I did all that work for about a decade, and I also did the same kind of work for the late Dr. Edgar Mitchell's organization, Free Experiencers, which is now being run by Ray Hernandez. And now I do the same kind of thing again for the Opus organization, which
Okay.
is headed up by our good friend Les Velez, who's just a sweetheart. What a wonderful guy. So I had the advantage of not only um, practicing in a very visible way, but I began to speak at conferences and ufology conferences, and I was involved with MUFON's expo, which we had for a number of years. So I was very fortunate to sort of, I think once you find your thing,
Yeah,
you
it's your
know,
thing. This is your niche. This is your
once
niche.
you find it, the universe kind of
Yeah.
opens up, because there are potential timelines, and time is not linear. That is a
Right.
construct. It's plastic,
Right.
it's subjective, but I do think that when you're at a turning point in your life, several potential timelines start to agitate or vibrate, or whatever you want to call it. But when you
Mhm.
find the one, which brought together all of my interests. And I should probably point out that years ago, I was a psychiatric technician, which is like a psychiatric nurse in
Oh, wow.
in the U.S. I put myself through university by working on the graveyard shift in a real draconian mental hospital.
Oh my
So
gosh.
a
So you've
state
seen a lot.
I have seen a lot. So when people ask me, how do you know if someone is coming to you with a legitimate experience, or at least they believe it's legitimate, or if they are experiencing a dissociative event or mental disorder? Well, believe me, I know.
You know. All right. So
I
here's my
know.
first question. I have so many for you. So you get this person in, you get your first person in. Were you shocked? What did they say to you? I mean, do you recall like the first starting to?
I'm sorry, I can't recall the first one, but what I was almost more focused on is I had adapted past life regression techniques to work specifically with experiencers. So I wanted to do everything right as I had laid it out. But I think I think what surprised me is how easily the memories began to float out. And this has often led to my idea that memory blocks, whether they have been used by an advanced ET civilization on us, or whether they've been used by our own secret space program, they don't last forever. And I think that's one of the reasons why
Okay.
most of the people that I work with come to me past 40, because I think, 20, 25 years is a long time for a memory block to last. And I think they literally start to dissolve or become ineffective. So often when a person begins having vivid dreams that feel
Hmm.
either like memories, or oftentimes more like PTSD experiences, like flashes, when they
Hmm.
begin experiencing that, I think that means that they're ready. to
Wow.
look at their experiences.
Well, let me rewind a little bit. From what I can understand from your book, and you guys, the book is called Intersections. It's a true story of extraterrestrial contact. And you go through with Wes Roberts. He tells all about his, it's very interesting, you guys.
Oh.
So I guess that's why I have so many questions. I'm like, wow.
Oh.
And I only read a couple chapters of it because I didn't get the book in time, but it's okay. I'm just so happy you're here. So from what I understand, Wes was taken as a child, and I guess, and he was by a forest. And I've heard this so many times, so many children who have been lost and they've never found that have been in a forest. So I'm just, do you see that? He was taken as a child. Why are they taking the children? And is this something that you see consistently, I guess?
Well, I'm going to premise this by saying I'm not sure there is any such thing as someone who's only had one experience.
Okay.
Because in the vast majority of the people that I work with, when I begin regressing them, eventually I come to the point where they're like 3 years old and they have very limited linguistic skills, but they can convey what has happened. So, and my feeling about this is that although it seems invasive and strange to us, I think it comes from a benevolent place. I really think that the commonality that joins all experiencers together, no matter what culture they're from, demographic, religion, financial situation, it's a phenomena that cuts through all of those kinds of lines. So there has to be something beyond all of that that conjoins these people because they are the ones having the experiences. My feeling is that it really has to do with psychic ability. And it really also has to do with our latent ability to communicate telepathically, because most of the evolved species that approach us and want to work with us seem to communicate in that way. And many of them can talk and they look just like us, but the speed of thought is instantaneous. So they use it. You know, I often compare this to, say you were, you know, Jane Goodall, and you're in the middle of, you know, the African continent, and you discover some type of new primate, and like maybe 4 or 5 of these primates have developed esophagi, and they can actually form words. Now, wouldn't you spend more time working with those more evolved primates and beginning to teach them a vocabulary? So I think that is a bit, and of course, this would also explain why the ETs seem to be very interested in genealogy.
Yeah.
And they seem to follow, I will say, primarily the female lines. But it's very hard to know with our kind of repressed, you know, Irish Scottish culture. It's hard to know if men were having these experiences and were psychic going back very far, because men have been taught to repress their emotions for, you know, various reasons. So we often get more information when someone will say, well, my grandmother was psychic and my mother before, my grandmother before. So often we'll be able to find, or maybe it can be that psychic ability as a talent passes more easily through mitochondrial DNA. I don't have the answer to that question, but I think that they are looking into familial lines. And I think that also in the interlife, when we are between lives, when we've passed out of a physical body and we're waiting to incarnate or whatever we're going to do, I think we make agreements. And I think we are right now on the crest of an amazing piece of evolution for mankind. I think it's imminent, which is why so many gifted star children, what do they call them? Indigo children. The people
There's
coming
star seeds here. There's angelic beings here. There's a lot of us here that are here to help at this time.
That's right. That's right.
And so, yeah, it's not just one, but I guess
no.
Here's what okay, so let's a couple things here. I know that I've interviewed people where they say the president here in the United States made a deal with these guys to let, you know, them take so many people up. I wonder if that was the same case in Canada, do you think?
Well, in Canada, we are, in bed with the US all the
Right.
time. So
Okay.
whatever's going, and not only that, but Canada and the US share all of those military bases along the DEW line. So we
Okay.
could be the first people to see, Russia lob over, this is leftover Cold War stuff, but we shared military bases all across the North American peninsula on the DEW line.
Okay.
Now, what was the other part of that? It was so interesting that
Well, because I know they made deals, but
oh yeah, the Truman Agreement. Well,
yeah.
I am really of the belief system that Colonel Philip Corso told the truth in his amazing book, The Day After Roswell, which
Okay.
really talked about ground zero, the very beginning of our contemporary ufology era. And in a nutshell, Corso's position is that the Roswell crash, we shot down beings with sonic weapons, and there were 3 crashes, not one, there were 3,
Mhm.
and that in fact there were survivors, or at least one survivor.
Yeah, and I know they went to Wright-Patterson Air
Yeah,
Force Base.
everything was taken to Wright-Patterson. That's where it
Yeah.
was all. That was
Yeah.
all where it was all happening.
It's weird because I
And
grew up in Ohio and then moved to New
oh,
Mexico. So I've been to Roswell and I've been to Isn't that the
what a
craziest?
trip!
I know. That's
And
why I'm like, I know this stuff.
how weird to think Wright-Patterson in Ohio would be
Right?
ground, but I mean it's strange,
Right?
but yeah, but it was. And
Oh.
I think that according to Corso, Truman, this is just post-war. This is just after the A bomb has been blown up. So Truman makes an agreement, and these ETs were of the gray variety, and they were Zeta Reticulates. In other words, they were the same beings that stopped Betty and Barney Hill, and they are grays. Now, they're only one of many kinds of beings that visit us, but these beings were the ones that are really responsible for the randomized genetic research program that they were doing. They were allowed to do it. They were given leeway
They
to
were
do it.
given leeway, but are they nice ETs is the
Well,
question.
I think that yes, but I think that they also have a very different emotional makeup than we might have. And
Mhm.
so hence, some of these experiences of extracting sperm and extracting ova, as much as the beings tried to make it painless or what have you, it was extremely unpleasant and terrifying. So, but those types of incidents, um, uh, that deal, the Zeta Reticulites honored it. There was a deal for a certain amount of years, and they honored it. So I rarely these days encounter anyone who has had one of those sort of early Betty and
Experiences.
Barney
Yeah.
Hill kind of experiences. If I do, they have to be someone sort of my age.
Okay.
And I'm 67, so it's we don't, thank God, that was over. But as I understand it, the Zeta Reticulites went a lot farther with their research and with what they took and whom they took than the US had agreed to.
What are
So
they after? Why are they after our sperm and our eggs? What are they after?
it seemed like they had lost their ability to procreate, and they were trying to do some kind of genetic splicing involving our 23 pairs, and there is some information to support that we may be distantly related in some way by some other ET
And you're talking
incarnate.
about the grays now.
Yeah, I'm talking about the grays.
Okay.
They do have some Homo sapiens sapien DNA. We don't know
Okay.
why. So there is an essential, although distant, compatibility.
What about the reptilians? Because I have a friend who's passed now and she was taken and she has seen the reptilians and she said how horrible they are.
Well, you know, there uh, there is a lot of hubbub about reptilians. I very rarely hear about them in any kind of
Right, me too.
involved
Right,
way.
exactly.
Very, very rarely. However, um, now I will say, I don't know, have you ever had my friend Captain Randy Kramer on your show
No,
before?
no, I
Oh
haven't.
my, oh, you've got to.
No. No.
Well, anyway, Randy Kramer
Well, I had
is,
Cosmic Ray. I have Ray who works with the, Raymond Keller who works with the
yeah,
Venetians. I have him on
yeah.
all the time. I mean, I've had a lot of different, but no, I haven't had him. But nobody talks about the reptilians so much other than in a negative way as they.
Well, some of this is pure um, uh, 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 genus prejudice. It really
Oh.
is, because we have treaties in both Canada and in the United States. We have existing treaties with reptilian beings who are completely benign.
Yeah.
We're just very creeped out by the idea of beings evolving from that stream of reptilian so and so. I mean, we have a reptilian brain. I mean, we're not that far,
It's
but I
so creepy. And they're underground. They're all
yes,
underground.
yes, they are. Now, what I was going to say about Randy Kramer, now, what if
Oh,
you ever
yes.
have him on, or you want to look him up,
Okay. I need to.
he is a survivor
Okay.
of the secret space program. He
Right.
was a
Okay.
super soldier. He came in through the Marines. He did what they call the 20 and back. In other words, he's experienced time travel in a sense. He served for 20 years and then was regressed back to his high school self. So he's been through some amazing stuff. But what he has told or talked about to me about reptilians is that now first you have to sort of suspend disbelief here. He was, as part of the SSP, he was stationed both on Mars and on the moon as part of the Mars Defense Force and the Lunar Defense Force. And what he said is, on Mars, there are at least three varieties of reptilians who are living, underground. And every once in a while, they would go out and, have skirmishes with these
Oh,
guys. It
okay.
was like an uneasy truce, and every once in a while they'd be out on a patrol and they'd fire a few shots, and the reptilians would shoot their whatever they had. So
Wow.
this I have heard, but as far as this, I can't go for this Jim Mars stuff or whatever, where the British royal family are actually reptilians. Well, they may be mostly Germans, but they're not reptilians.
I love it. What's been, you're so knowledgeable and it's so interesting to hear what you have to say. We all know this stuff is going on. What has been the most shocking thing that you've learned from doing these regressions? What's really just blown your mind?
Oh boy, there is so much. Um, I think I will have to say the thing that blows my mind is how much of this phenomena I think is actually a astral or consciousness event. And by that I mean to say that I think many of the evolved beings are projecting themselves holographically
Oh,
rather than traveling. I mean, it's like us. I'm on Zoom. I could get on a plane and come visit you, but
oh,
we're
that's a
on
little
Zoom.
easier if we do it this way. Wow, I've never had anybody say that. You know what?
So it's
Yeah.
so one of the things that I will tell you about as a kind of a trippy thing is
Yeah.
I have several clients actually who have been part of the secret space program. So one of them is a great guy named Carl Dory. He's been interviewed by me before. He doesn't mind if I use his name.
Okay.
And what he told me is, from the time he began training as a cadet. And now you say, well, how could that be possible with 13-year-old kids missing from school and being training?
Hmm.
Well, they were using time travel technology. They would take the kids for 3 weeks, train them up, zip them back to fourth period in school.
Oh my
So this is
gosh.
the kind of thing that went on. But what Carl told me is, from the very beginning of his training, he had a special bond with an insectoid, believe it or not, who gave his name as Kern. Now, Kern was a hugely loving, evolved being, but like a big praying mantis. Now, to us, we would freak out, right? Again, we
Yeah.
have a real problem with other evolved beings coming from some other stream rather than mammalian. We have a lot of trouble with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Kern would be in person, and he would engage with Carl, and he always wore kind of a big robe, but also he would communicate by some kind of holographic astral projection where
Okay.
he could control it and would appear completely 3D except slightly levitating above the floor.
Okay.
So and I think many beings do this, and I also think that many experiencers are also selected not just for psychic ability, but for their ease with astral projection, because a lot of the experiences that people have when they get past 40 or 50 are esoteric experiences, etheric experiences.
Mhm.
The body is checked out. I mean, it's asleep. There's nobody home, and it's a kind of astral projection. And this is how evolved beings mostly engage. They don't
Okay.
get in a craft, put themselves in a simulated sleep, and travel for 150 years. It really doesn't work that way. There are portals, there are vortices, there are
Mhm.
beings that can open vortices.
Mhm.
So, but what we have going on just really points to our soul group and our soul relationships with so many beings. And in past life regression, it is not unusual for someone to recall a lifetime on another planet.
Right. Right.
And they may describe a different body. They may see two suns. They may be able to fly. It can take any form, but it happens a lot.
Okay. Now I have some questions as far as we ascend, because we are ascending.
Hmm.
This is a big deal.
Yes.
But okay, so there's two things that I kind of am feeling right now. Everybody's waking up, I'm more psychic than I ever was. More people are getting in touch with the divine. You can say
Hmm.
source energy. People are
Hmm.
contacting Mother Earth, bringing up that energy. I teach the audience to bring in the light every day so we connect. So we're raising our vibration, which is fantastic. This is supposed to be the biggest thing that's ever happened in the universe, that we're all going to do this, right? But then on the flip side, I keep seeing more and more ships, ETs, being spotted in the sky. So what's the correlation here? What's going on? What's
Well, I
all
think
that about?
they're just showing themselves more.
You think?
This is just gentle disclosure, doing it the way that the ETs want to do it. Now, I think that all the governments of the world have had the opportunity for disclosure and open contact.
I agree.
And out of fear, out of economics, fear-based decisions of probable collapse. I mean, that's what Truman thought. They wanted to give us free energy, and he said, "Oh my God, no! We're digging coal in Pennsylvania and Ohio. Forget it." So
It's
it's been a.
crazy because we
I
could have,
know.
and not to interrupt you, but we could have free water. We should
Hmm.
have. Let me just
Hmm.
say this. We should have free water. We should have free energy. There's no reason why we should have to pay for these things.
I know.
It's
And
nuts. It's
zero
just
point
nuts.
energy, 0 point energy exists.
Right.
Tesla invented it. It exists. And
Yeah.
even in communities, like I know my sister lives in Los Angeles, and she had her whole roof solar paneled,
Mhm.
but they punish you, they tax you, and they punish you for having that done.
It's
Whereas
crazy.
I believe here in Canada, we get a stimulus check
Well,
for
they get
doing
sick.
this.
Yeah, no, I mean, but well, some states, it all depends on what state you're
You're
in.
right. You're right. It does. It depends on what state, and also here what province.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, it's always been, and God, we could talk for a couple hours. I mean, I just feel it's a whole control thing, and the
It
American
is all
people,
about control.
it is, and the Canadian people, I mean, none of us are stupid. We're not stupid.
No, no, and we're not children. And now also I have to bring up, very few things are going to be disclosed forever because of the incredible advances in archaeology and the use of LIDAR. We're going to be able to really prove, well, we've already proved that there was human civilization 650,000 years ago. So everything we have learned is
Is
wrong.
right. It's a lie.
Everything is wrong.
Yeah.
We know that the Egyptian pharaohs were carrying European DNA. They weren't Egyptians. Okay, so there's all kinds of stuff that is going to be coming out through the use of LiDAR and all these various things, and we will no longer be able to embrace our global amnesia, which is,
Explain LADAR. Explain that. What do you mean when you say that?
LiDAR is laser radar. So in other words, in the dense jungles of South America, of Peru, the LiDAR can look right through the trees and into the earth and reveal structures. So I can't tell you how many amazing cities have been discovered and archaeological miracles just by using this new technique.
But
So,
it's not being revealed.
well, a lot of stuff is being revealed.
Some of it is. Okay.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Cool.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And I would really recommend, if anyone is,
It's
I'm a
interesting to me.
I'm a giant nerd, so
Yeah.
I'm totally invested in the ancient astronaut theories and such. But
Yeah.
if Graham Hancock has a wonderful series. Now, I've watched it on Netflix, but I think it's on Gaia for free if you have that. But it's called Ancient Apocalypse, it's called. And
Okay.
his a premise, and he's been vilified, but his premise is that there were actually two ice ages in a sense,
Oh, really?
and that various civilizations survived the second one, and but yet it's a shared human experience. So it's a marvelous series, and he just sort of opens the door. He doesn't tell you what to believe, but he
Right.
points out some of the more recent discoveries and some of the more recent stultifying information.
Right. Well, I'm going to bring up a couple things. I had Flat Earth Dave on my show yesterday.
Oh,
Dave Weiss, and he believes that the earth is flat. And
yeah,
I pulled the Bible out, and it says
yeah.
there is this firmament. And
Mhm.
I read Genesis from the 1700s in this Bible. It says there's a firmament, there's a dome. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that feel like, this whole thing, like there's more land beyond, there's more continents beyond what we know. And so that's
Well,
that's a whole other thing that we've been looking at. Because I said to him yesterday when I was talking to him, because they talk about how the pilot says there's no curvature, that the earth is flat. It was really
yes.
interesting. Yeah. But then I said, well, how did the ETs come in? And then he showed me an old map. It was really interesting. And he shows where, there's other continents in the old maps. If you look, there's way
Well,
more land, like way out beyond. And of course,
uh,
yeah. And then we talked
yeah.
about Tataria. I don't know if you're familiar about some of the resets I've had people on the show
Yeah,
that talk about Tataria
yeah.
and different things like that. So, I mean,
We've had resets. We have been
yeah.
bounced back to zero. In fact, the Vikings were the ragtag dregs of the Hyperborea civilization.
Okay.
I mean, so we have been reset and reset and reset. Now, one thing about the flat earthers that I think is interesting is
Yeah.
I think, I think we have many dimensions,
Right.
and the dimensions are not necessarily far. It's a question of vibration. So in a sense, when they say
Mhm.
there are other, there could be
More land out.
more,
Yeah.
yeah, in another conceptual. I mean, we have had islands that appear and disappear, not
I
because
know.
not because of climactic or geological changes, but because of some kind of change in vibration. The island of Avalon, the island of, speaking of Wales, the island of Avalon, and also Hy-Brasil, which is in the Irish Sea, in the Irish Sea. And again, it appears on the Piri Reis map, but not on later maps. And
Yeah.
there were no seismic events. It is something that mystically alters its vibration and appears and disappears. So we
Ooh.
have many layers of existence. I think it's like an onion. I think we have many layers of existence sort of coexisting. And when we get bumped up, it's just like we move next door. We don't even feel it. I don't believe. I don't believe we even feel it as a transition,
When
but
it happens.
it's a new timeline. And my great worry or concern, and is that
What, Leslie?
there is an element of there's a human element that is very devolved, that is narrow and fearful and uneducated. And
Mhm.
what happens to those Trump supporters? What happens to those poor people? What are they going to do? Are they going to go to
God.
limbo? I mean, I'm Catholic. We don't even have limbo anymore. It's been eliminated. But I mean, do we all proceed as a group? I mean, I'm talking to you, but what about that mad woman, that blonde woman, Marjorie Taylor, whatever? I mean, we have a huge.
Well, here's what I think. I'll throw this at you because I've talked to people about this because I've always said that too. Okay, so we're all here. I am doing the show. You're writing this book. Why are we doing this? We're getting this information out to people so people get it. So we raise the vibration so we can all ascend. What happens to the people who don't get it? Well, there's people who don't want to hear this stuff. There's people who
Yeah.
don't want to wake up, but you can only wake yourself up. Is what I've
Yeah.
learned. You can only work on yourself, and each person that works on themselves raises the vibration for the rest of the people. And I believe that we help those people who haven't raised their vibration. We will help them ascend with our vibration.
As much as we can. But
That's what I
again,
think.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. It is a universe of free will.
Right.
And there will actually, I think, I mean, the Bible talks about the chosen. It talks about the great, what is it called? Oh,
What?
anyway,
Revelations or what?
yeah, in Revelations, the so and so, the end of time, when the
Right.
dead are raised up and they go with Jesus, and everybody who wasn't really happening, they just sort of stay there. So I think it's kind of like that. I think that
Well, and I've heard there's two different Earths too. I've heard that the new people go to a different Earth, and the people who didn't get it are not evolved. I shouldn't say don't get it because I don't want to go there.
Well, no,
everybody gets it at their own pace, and
people
so
who have
no
chosen,
judgment. Right, no
people who have
judgment.
chosen to stay at a
Right.
certain point of development.
Right.
And well, why not? Because matter is informed by thought.
Right.
It's not the other way around. And even though we're here in the third density, I'm at a desk and blah blah blah, it's still all molecules. They're moving really slowly, but it's still just molecules. And I think that evolved species have learned a long time ago to be able to adjust their vibrations so that they can travel. And I think a lot of what we are seeing in the sky are manifestations, visual manifestations.
Maybe they were there the whole time, but we didn't see them because we weren't at a high enough vibration to see them.
Oh yeah, absolutely true. Because if you, I mean, it may seem like everything is at a standstill, but so I'm so bloody old, right? Looking back to my childhood, the most far out thing I could watch was the Twilight Zone.
I watched the Twilight Zone.
The best, but one black and white television show. Now you look, my husband just bought me ultimate atomic television. I don't know, I've got 8 zillion channels, and there is so much content.
I know.
That is fantastic. I mean, it's not only, it's paranormal, it's ancient aliens, it's historical. I mean, there's so much content now that it's almost like anyone who even has a spark of interest can go as far as they want.
It's true.
They really can,
That's
but
true.
I think what is going on mostly in our universe is non-physical communication.
Wow. What a cool lady you are. I'm so glad. I am so glad you came on the show. You guys, her book is called Intersections. It's a true story of extraterrestrial contact. Wow, Lesley, what's up for you next? What do you got planned?
Well, some good things are going on. I'm also I still sing, so I'm doing a lot of singing.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I'm still singing, and I'm actually working on a book that is nothing to do with metaphysics, except in the it's a collection of my showbiz stories over the many
Nice.
years, and it's
Nice.
called Woman on the Road. So I'm working on that,
Oh
but
my gosh.
also I'm hoping to be able to speak at several conventions, maybe in the UK this summer,
Nice.
and continuing on with Contact TV. It's my little show I've had for about 12 years,
Oh my gosh.
and so that's it. A lot of writing and treating these dear people who who need help integrating their experiences into their lives.
Wow, you're doing wonderful work. Really
Thank
wonderful
you.
work. I'd love
Thank
to have you.
you.
Oh my God, it was such a
I
pleasure to meet you.
I would love to come back on any time that you just send up a flare.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh my gosh. Now, do you have a website or anything if people want
I
to
do.
contact you and ask you questions?
Absolutely. And I would just want to tell your listeners, viewers, that
Yeah.
I always get back to people who
Oh,
have
wow.
questions. And if you want to just tell me your story, or if you want advice, I mean, this is not about work or anything. This is about providing an ear. So if you want to reach out to me for any reason, my email is Lesley, Lesley, at lightworkhypnosis.com. And of course, that's the website, lightworkhypnosis.com. And you
Okay.
can also find me on Facebook, either as Lesley Mitchell-Clarke, Lightwork Hypnosis, or Our Contact TV. So
That's
I'm
fantastic.
eminently available.
I love it. I love it. Well, I am so appreciative that you came on the show today. And
Thank
we're
you,
going
my
to
dear.
be back here. You're welcome. The book again is called Intersections. It's by Lesley Mitchell-Clarke. You guys, this is Nancy. You're out. If you want an angel reading, go to my website. You can book your date and time with me, and I'll be happy to work with you guys. This is High Road to Humanity. Everybody take care and have a fabulous week. God bless.